Recently got an email from someone named Daniel. Pretty cool person who's been following since the Tiger Direct days. We talked about some old parts, and then he asked, do you still do computers? So right now I want to talk for a little while about why I no longer look at brand new hardware and why I don't review tech products anymore. But first, let's get your copy of Windows activated, shall we? You gotta activate Windows because I know you want the dark theme and also the customization options that go along with it. Plus, you'll be able to get some updates that are not available unless you activate. So head over to whokeys.com. It's where I grab my keys. You can get Windows 11, but you know what? Windows 10 Pro right now, it'll update to Windows 11. So check out Windows 10 Pro. I've also got Office 2019. You can grab that. You've got Windows 10 Home if you want, and I've got a coupon code for 30% off until the end of the year. So if you need Office and Windows 10, you can get them together right here in a pack and save some money. I'm gonna go ahead and add this to my shopping cart. Click here, proceed to checkout, and right here we can do a coupon code, TS30, hit apply. If you're watching this video after the end of the year, you can use TS25 to get 25% off, but I'll take the 30 right now because hey, Q4, everything's on sale. Once you're finished, if you want to access your key, you click on your name on the top right, click on User Center, and you'll see My Purchase Orders. Right here, you'll be able to view the keys that you've purchased just by clicking on View Keys and Codes. Then you will see your code right here. Just go ahead and copy this code, press Start, type Activate, and you'll see activation settings come up. Click on that, then click Change Product Key. Right there, you can paste in your code and hit Next, and then you will be activated. It's very simple. So go ahead and get Windows and Office activated and do it at the same price as the wholesalers do it. TLDR right here in the beginning. This is not a consumerism is bad thing. And I really hate when people try to put all of this onto the consumers, onto the audience, just like they do with pollution. They're like, hey, you have to do your part or else the earth's gonna burn. And they sort of shift the focus from the big corporations and the governments and the militaries that are really having a severe impact on the environment. And they try to tell you like, hey, you better use paper straws or you're gonna go to hell, that kind of thing. So I don't want anyone to watch this video and feel guilty for consuming or for buying new electronics. If you want to upgrade your computer, by all means, upgrade your computer. And I also want to say, I'm going to talk about, e-waste and stuff like that. I don't think a lot of e-waste is coming from people in this community because a lot of times if you get a graphics card and you decide to upgrade, well, your old graphics card is going to end up being a hand-me-down or it's going to go to someone else. So a lot of these parts are going to be reused, and especially when it comes to a lot of the tinkerers and stuff, this stuff is going to be in use for decades, whether it's with emulation machines or whether it's just from people building nostalgia rigs and stuff like that. So I don't think that the e-waste is that big of a deal. That's also something that I think we should not focus our vision on individuals, but rather we should look at the big companies like, even IBM, they throw out lots and lots of computers. Major offices, when they just do an upgrade, they'll take all of their Dells and just throw them into a dumpster, and that's where the whole dumpster diving thing really comes from in the tech world. People go and you can get great computers out of dumpsters. That's where a lot of the e-waste comes from. And the rest of it's like, stuff that went bad, like a phone that went bad or something like that. But I really want to focus mostly on the entire system and how I kind of got a sour taste just from being a part of it. And what is that system? Well, it's not that consumerism is bad, it's just that I think the cycle that we're in forces companies to always have to produce new products, whether you need them or not, and then they have to push stuff that's, they have to push new ideas all the time. Like, let's take a mouse, for instance. So we got this mouse right here, right? So when this mouse came out, this is the one I made in Shenzhen, and this is the only, this one and the Swift are the only two mice that I'm going to make, unless someone really wants a left-handed mouse. But, this is like sort of based on the IntelliMouse shape, except with some new buttons, and it has the sensor that I like, the 3310 sensor. And then we had the other mouse that's a little more right-handed, and I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to make. I probably could have gotten away with not even making the Swift, but I did that at a point in time where I was more into the idea of just making products. So we made the mouse, but then the next season comes around and some of the people online and stuff started talking about really lightweight mice. So now every single company has to make a lightweight mouse. And this is a subjective thing. You can still use a heavier mouse. This one's like 115, 120, but there are some weights in here you can take out and make it around 90 something grams, which is what I do. But I was really tempted to like, ooh, look at these like 80 gram mice. Maybe I should make one of those and stuff. But it's like, wait a minute, I've got a mouse. We don't need to be enticing everyone to upgrade their mouse every single year. But the way this entire industry works is they have to continue producing stuff. If a company makes a mouse, like we made a mouse, and we don't make a new mouse next year, and we don't do tons of marketing around that mouse, and then the next year we don't make another mouse, and then the next year we don't make another mouse, we're not going to make enough money to support a huge business. With this one, luckily, it's not my main line of revenue. You know, we sell several of these a month, and that's totally fine. It's cool. I don't need to sell any more than that. And they're available on Epic Pants, and that's pretty much it. I even pulled them off of Amazon. So now that my views are different, I've sort of shifted the way I do things, and I'm not really into this for generating maximum money all the time. I've got this mouse. If you like this shape, you go buy it. That's the end of it. But a lot of companies, they have to make a new one every single year, whether you need it or not, and then they have to convince you that you need it. So what do? Well, first off, they'll pay for a lot of marketing. But the second thing that they do is they send it to all of the content creators, blogs, and YouTubers out there. And this is what your feed looks like on a day when a new product comes out. You know, you get Linus complaining, you know, Nvidia did something bad, their marketing's bad or something, I don't know. And they promise too much. And then Jay will say they promise too much, and then Steve will take it apart and all that stuff. And then Wendell will tell you the name of the guy who invented the capacitors, and he'll tell you a funny anecdote about his favorite flavor of bubblegum. So you are constantly bombarded with this stuff. And then everyone starts talking about this stuff. And that has a psychological effect on the viewer. It makes you want these products even if you don't need them. If you've got a mouse that's totally fine, but then you start to see some new bells and whistles, or maybe a sensor like the 3310 versus the 3360. This one's got the 3310, but the 3360, well, you can slam tilt that thing. This one, you can move it fast, but it doesn't really respond well if you slam tilt it. And you're going to be like, oh man, I need that one because it can slam tilt. Even if you've never lifted the mouse off the desk ever in your life and done this, you're like, lenses. Lens adapter. If you've never done this in your life, you're going to be like, ooh, I need that because everyone says it's the best thing, so I gotta get that. You don't really need that, do you? I mean, maybe you do. Maybe that's the way you play. But I'm saying that like they have to continually crank out products, and then they unload all of that stuff on all of the YouTubers, and they all make content at the same time, and we get trapped in this loop where you're always wanting to upgrade. And I don't see how that is good for the world. It shifts the focus from using your products and having fun to consuming. And I don't think that the fault of that is on you. I think the fault of that is on the entire system that we live under. That's the way capitalism works. Every year we have to make more stuff and make more profits. And I don't like being a part of that. So, and I've always had a sort of a sour feeling about that, but I didn't know exactly where it came from until, I guess, more recently when I just kind of stepped back from the grind. You have to disconnect from the grind sometimes to look at everything and be like, damn. And you know, when this all started, it was basically just us, and I think 3D Game Man was still going, and a few other channels who have mostly since burnt out and whatnot. And then Linus showed up, and then a few other people showed up, but now the entire space is crowded. So whenever something comes out, you're bombarded, and you get way more information than you need, and I don't see how I need to even, I mean, I'm not the best reviewer out there. At the same time, a lot of those people who are doing the reviews, they're not doing the stuff that I'm doing. So I should focus on like the stuff I'm good at, like creating, like making music or whatever, and they can focus on making the content. And then, you know, it's a better world. We don't need 9,000 people making the same exact content. Lots of different perspectives are great, but I think we have plenty of them. And, you know, I've been wanting to shift away from hardware for a long time. I mean, that's part of why Tech Syndicate went in two different directions, because I thought, hey, let's go into more gaming and fun stuff, and I wrote a decree to all the people, and I was like, we're not going to do hardware reviews anymore, that we need to stop doing that kind of stuff and just do documentaries, information videos, deep dives, gonzo journalism, stuff like that that's more difficult to produce. And also, you know, you don't get the constant stream of hardware coming in, which a lot of people like. But, you know, with the constant stream of hardware, there's a lot of obligation that goes along with that. You get a huge stack of motherboards, and a lot of you would love to have this problem, but after you have that for a while and you realize that you have to benchmark every single one of those, what's going to happen is a Okay, great. You've got a bunch of hard drives, you've got a bunch of motherboards, you've got a bunch of CPUs, and you've done a ton of work. We're talking like hundreds of hours of benchmarking all of these things so that you, and using these things so you can make a review. And then you realize you don't actually have the energy or the time to make the content that you wanted to make. The content that we used to promise people that we were going to make on our Patreon, but then we just upload 19 more hardware reviews. And while Tech Syndicate was still operating out of Kentucky, there was an email we got from one of our German viewers, and it was basically like, the more you do hardware reviews, the more you break my heart. And I showed it to everyone, and I was like, look, this is what I want to do. And, you know, there was back and forth about it, you know, like, great, whatever, you know, hire more people, will do it. But it just like, it was that or hardware, you know, like you can't, it just couldn't serve two gods, it seemed. So at the beginning of 2021, I said no to any more new hardware. And I've stuck with it. I've decided I'll say yes if it's something I'm going to buy myself. And I was like, you know what, or if it's something I have a dire need for. But I even said no to a laptop this year. I'll put myself in the back over here. So no new hardware. And a lot of the hardware I'm going to talk about, I'm going to be doing some videos this month about hardware. I'm going to try to focus on like the more esoteric stuff that not all the channels are talking about. Maybe talking about some retro hardware, used gear, and then talk about stuff that you can do, like projects or like ideas or how to, you know, emulation and stuff like that. Like, what do you want to do with your hardware? I think that's always what I wanted to focus on. And it was just impossible when you're just flooded with all the new stuff. So that's why I am no longer doing hardware reviews, at least on new hardware. That's the way it is. And also, I've been trying to think of a name for maybe a gaming channel, mostly tabletop, but also some regular PC games, old school emulation, all that kind of stuff. The idea of switching this channel over to a gaming channel did not work out so well. I misunderestimated the audience. I thought that, you know, everyone here loves hardware and gaming and tech. So if we just switch to gaming, they'll be like, yeah, that's even more fun than tech because that's what we use our tech for. But not everyone uses their tech for gaming. And that was kind of a awakening, like rude awakening for me. So I was wrong on some of that stuff. I thought that we could go in that direction and it would work. So I admit now that I was wrong to think that Tech Syndicate could go in a purely gaming direction, especially when it comes to tabletop, because a lot of people who watch this do not enjoy tabletop. And I used to say that it's that people didn't enjoy fun, and I think that was kind of a rude way to look at it, because I think that it's the real truth is that people have fun in different ways, and some people that are not me have fun by playing with hardware that's, you know, tinkering with new hardware. I might have fun playing with old hardware for the, you know, just for the nostalgia mostly, but and for what we can do with it. But I'm more about the gaming, the community, and what we can do with all of this stuff, rather than just, you know, getting enthusiastic about the technology itself. So it's two different things, two different ways to have fun, and one's no less valid than the other. Anyway, I'm kind of glad that I've said no to a lot of different things. I'm way happier this year than I have been in any past years, despite the fact that Tech Syndicate makes far less money than it used to, and that's not something that bothers me in the least. Like, people make fun of, you know, like low hits. Okay, good. Good. I'm glad that you're happy that I'm not doing as well as I used to do on YouTube. But if that makes you excited, you may pleasure yourself while looking at the view count, if that's what you enjoy. It's whatever. So, and this is not like what I do with 100% of my time. It's what I do with like 10% of my time right now, or even less than that sometimes. So, long story short, no, I don't do hardware anymore. Even if everything I was saying is nonsense. Global Foundries CEO said, we're sold out of semiconductor chip capacity through 2023. So they are booked solid. It's going to be really difficult to get stuff. Now, when it says they're booked solid, I'm not sure what that means as far as the supply goes. That just means that everyone who needs chips made, Nvidia, AMD, whomever, has booked their facility to capacity. So they're going to be making stuff, but it's probably not going to be enough to meet demands, especially now that the Great Sickness, to avoid YouTube censorship. The Great Sickness is a thing. It's probably going to be rough to get stuff, because the demand is also higher. And this is not just about like people who are mining currencies and stuff like that. That's not what's causing the shortage totally, because if you look at the entire industry, you also have automobiles that are completely out of chips. So if they can't get chips for automobiles, no one's mining anything on that kind of hardware. There's just a general chip shortage across the entire market. There's more demand because everyone's at home and a lot of people are upgrading. And there's also shortages on some of the raw materials. None of that stuff's going to get better anytime soon. So, future content ideas. Would you like videos on, like what games can be played on old hardware that are amazing, stuff that you've missed? I played a lot of indie games. I've wagered that I've played more indie games than a lot of people out there because I use some of it as research, but others I play just because it's fun. Do we want like different genre videos? Like, okay, if you like FPS, here's 10 awesome games that I recommend. Maybe we can get some discussions talking about that. Here's 10 RPGs from the past that you might have missed that will play completely perfectly fine on your 10-year-old hardware. Moore's Law has slowed down a little bit. From 1980 to 1990, huge difference. 1990 to 2000, huge difference. From 2000 and something till now, not so much of a difference in the last 15, 20 years. I mean, a little bit, but it's not the same anymore. Thanks for everybody who put the phone down or backed up from your computer or put me on a side screen and worked and listened. I'm very curious to know what you think in the comments. Like what do you think about all this? Do you think that the tech industry in general, or the tech YouTube industry in general, constantly creates a desire in you? Do you feel that desire to always be upgrading? Do you see all the new parts that come out all the time from all these companies who have to make these companies? They don't need to be making this many parts, but they do because they have to make money. That's all it is. It's all about money. If we were on a natural cycle that was more about innovation than cranking out profits, it would probably be every couple of years we would get a bigger jump anyway. But we get incremental jumps all the time with tons of media and tons of content around it to make you excited about it. Okay, well, thanks everybody for watching. Please do go over and check out the new album here. I think you'll like it. It's sort of an homage to older RPG. I said it in the title here. Old RPGs from DOS and SNES and stuff like that. Used a lot of DOS and SNES sounds. So check it out. Hope you enjoy it. It's on Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, all that kind of stuff. It's available now. So I hope you enjoy it. Please do give it a review on Bandcamp if you pick it up. And let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, I'm signing off now. Bye, everybody.